My first question is in these circumstances, do you find that CAA is very required?
See, it is a very interesting question. Citizenship Amendment Bill had a lot of questions. And once these questions had to be addressed, they should have been based on so many debates across the societies in the country. But what happened, a certain number of, the strength in the parliament, in the Lok Sabha especially, BJP has taken a chance and flexed its muscles. Ultimately, this bill has turned out to be an act through upper chamber, and in upper chamber they had staged managed the kind of supports required for that. But again, I believe this should have really been given a chance for debate across the society, because it's not a question for only one religion, but the religions have been living here and coexistent uh, through centuries, and a kind of togetherness as Indian has been referred. But if you're going to really look into it, why do I really refer this the kind of citizenship which has to be very, very importantly, cared of? Because the drafts were made with a lot of flaws. And that had not passed in 2016 in the parliament. After 1955 Citizenship Act had taken its courses of changes many times till 2016. But there had been a certain balance and check method which had really procured to understand about the citizenship and conceptually to be given the citizenship of India as secular state and given a kind of position of a secular state as honored by the world. But the basic problem here is we find that this is what I refer as a muscle flexing, because only numbers cannot speak the truth, right? Numbers change, and that we have experienced in the previous governments. Even Rajiv Gandhi came in power in 1984 with a massive mandate, but it didn't change much, in the system of the basic fabric of the country. But it is what we are just experiencing, The erstwhile parties of BJP, like Jansan, even before Hind Mahasabha, the line they have taken a century back, I mean, trying to implement and bringing this nation towards, the working backwards, and this it can never help, the country to grow as it is, positioning today. Another, the flaws that I can really tell you, not another, the other flaws in the system. Let's say NRC. NRC is miserably failed in Assam, and that's been targeted to Assam as to really screen off and to settle with a religion fundamentalism, innocence of ultra Hindutva. But the moment it came back with a backfire, and that had really resulted 12 lakhs Hindus out of 19 lakhs, those who were not being, eligible for the citizenships being suffused. And then what happened that, the hue and cry started doing the round. And then they stepped back. Immediately, without losing no time, without losing in time, by no time they had entered into another pact that's called CAA, Citizenship Amendment Bill. And that amendment bill has been passed by both the chambers, and has been already signed by the President of India, finally constitutionally enacted as an act. But the basic question, the act is not the question that how it serves the nation, still there is no, the indication is given, which can be assured, yes, the nation, as with the fundamental, the concept of the federalism and coexistence of critical races in the country, have been, uh, a great question, stand before the question, and that's been a great problem here as we're facing. It's not the act, but how the act is going to really work and how better it can really work. Because I believe there is a fear psychosis, a fear mongering among the citizens, specifically some religions, But I believe, across the religions also, the kind of fear psychosis that's been created is definitely giving a different dimension of the course of politics, which India supposed not to do with. I mean, in the present time, it's a kind that India is facing. Is a kind of crisis India is facing and slipping into towards. That's unwanted, unwelcome. It can never be.
Can state government challenge a central law of not allowing in the state?
See, it is a very interesting question. The state government versus central government. So, union government versus state government. There had been a lot of conflagrations and conflicts happened before. Uh, on many of the issues, they had to settle down, and some of them are still questionable. Sometimes the court had to intervene, even still intervening in many of the issues. But the basic question is what? A party that's given the mandate by the people of the country to run the country, to rule the country as a union government. And this is the other way around, the same for the state government too. But two political parties are different political parties are coming with a different philosophies. Now, one political party that has a different philosophy and it has completely displaying a contrast with the other party and they are challenging each other, though it is not at all good for the nation. It's not at all good for the people or the general mass. But again, the concept is what? The government, the moment a political party forms a government or the coalition forms a government, then it comes what the responsibility of constitutional administration. It is to work abided by the laws and it should serve the people irrespective but what the guidance of the constitution provides. Equally same to the state government. But we shouldn't forget that two governments are being formed by the different political parties with their different line of actions and philosophies. So the first political party that runs the government of India and the party that runs the government of Bengal, they have their contrastive relationship. They really have a kind of, the debatable standing on every issue that's been surfaced till now. Here the question is Bengal. Why Bengal? The prime question is Bengal because Bengal has a long, the borderlines with Bangladesh. And it is believed that a lot of infiltrators, the number of crowd of infiltrators have entered in the state and settled. That's a different issue altogether. But the question is, those infiltrators in the name of religions are being termed as infiltrators or those are not doing the same thing? To be termed as refugees? Yes, of course, the country has a responsibility in doing that. Since this country has suffered, the religious fundamentalism and that has split the country. It's a very unwise, unethical. But we had to comply to the situation of a partition. But it should have really come up. It's already been a celebration of 70 years of our constitution. So we should really come up with the guidance of constitution to make and strengthen of constitution, which has guaranteed some principles and it's unique in the world, the kind of Indian democracy that really runs. But I believe the union government has really taken up with their own philosophical course into action through the governmental, the measures, and the state government is also doing the same thing. And finally, I must say that, these two political parties' agendas are reflecting in their way of governance. So it is very confounding to the general mass to understand what's going on and who is the protector and who is the predator, right? So it's a question. But of course, the sensible questions should always rise. The fundamental principles of the constitution should be guaranteed. And thus, two political parties, those who form the government with the responsibilities by the mandate of the people, should work towards solution. But this is not the solution it can really be.
So, now, what do you think of future?
See, future is lying in future. You cannot really describe what's going to be the future. But the question is, I believe, that this kind of fundamental question, when the question of secularism is just to face its trial, I believe it's unfortunate. Secularism, human rights, principle of directives of the constitution, the guarantees of the rights as given by the constitutions to an individual all are to be preserved, and that's the only way that the government can really, assure the people, the general, the common people of the country to really believe the nationhood. Because you cannot form so many nations in a nation. There is a certain way as to find out where the solution can really lie. And I believe that this kind of governments who have their philosophical ideologies and been completely laced with the action, and that's been a kind of ultra, the mechanism of the religion, ultra mechanism of religion. Somewhere it's a herd Hindutva, somewhere is a radical Muslim. So this should always be avoided, and that's possible the moment there is a moderate set of mind, the acceptable set of mind, and dissension will be there definitely, debate will be there definitely, but it should form the decision. The decision is the ultimate program that should really generate as to what to understand was the nationhood all about. It can never be one political party or two political parties can ruin the entire nation. It can never do. They can, I believe still, as you have asked me about the future, I believe with a very assertive mind, hopeful mind, welcoming mind, that the nation is experiencing whatsoever crisis is a momentary. It can really deliver the better through the experience, what we ought to do, what we not. And I believe the nation is waiting just to have this answer.